Hello and welcome to Victims of the Punt, the Mailbag show about New South Wales horse racing with a slightly different look today. Saturday's meeting at Randwick is on the lands of the Bidjigal and Gadigal people, and we acknowledge them as the traditional owners and pay our respects to their elders. Past, present and emerging. Victims is brought to you by Australian-owned and operated bookmaker ReadyBet, the winner-finding machine that is Mailbag Bloodstock, another almost great result for them at Sandown on Wednesday with Field of Roses, and, of course, Punting Form, Australia's best rating database. Now, a quick look back at last Saturday's meeting at Rose Hill. Mark, no joy for you with your two best bets. Conqueror disappointing, Mr. Mozart agonisingly close in the Theo marks, but I thought it was a pretty good day's racing on a fair track overall.
The track played really well. Unusual rail placement. Normally, as we said on the show, going back to the true, but it actually worked well that they only put it back in a couple of metres and the track looked pretty fair on the day. Yeah, I was off my head back in Compa. Luckily, I saved on Golden Mile when he looked a lot better in the yard, just betting around Zoo Tiger. But Mr. Mozart, like he got me on Saturday, he got me on Wednesday, so he's in the bin for about 5 months, I'd say.
I just love to hear it because he is incredibly limited and overrated, in my opinion.
Yeah, you've said that before numerous times, just before he rode half the Carlton Caulfield Guineas Day, I think, as well. But,
all right, Gareth Hall. He rode Old Kirk, which we were on at 16s. So
I understand that. Just circling back to last Saturday, Mark, and you mentioned Golden Mile. The stablemate In Secret was equally impressive in the run to the Rose. Do you have a pick out of those two? I thought they were both very good performances.
Well, they're vastly different looking horses. Golden Mile's a big, strong stallion, and In Secret's a lightly framed filly who's still very dead in the coat. So, she ran much better sectional times than Golden Mile, but Golden Mile has proven himself at the trip now. So, yeah. I think it gets to whatever the track condition is on the day and the race shape. I think probably In Secret's got the better turn of foot, but I think a lot will depend on where they draw and what actually takes place in the field and how big the field is.
Yep, fair enough. Just a couple of others I wanted to touch on. The newly gelded Remark I thought was very good. Did he look any different? Has that done the trick for him, do you think? Or?
Look, I don't think he looked any different in the yard, but he certainly tried quite well, but he had done that most of his life. But he sat 3 wide there with no cover. Look, the stablemate Clemenceau, another pikey ride, very unlucky in the same race. Bowman just put him in the zip fastener. You can't take anything away from the winner, though. He did all the tough work 3 wide.
He did, yes. Clemenceau, I had a little all-up Kips Bay into Clemenceau at about $15 on Thursday and was on good terms with myself after the first one, won by about 6, but no, of course not. And shout out to Sydney bookmaker Dave Dwyer, who's got in the ownership of a pretty smart one in Waterford, also from Wallace Stable in the last. I think they're going towards the Golden Eagle and got a little bit of a chance in it too. He's a very promising horse.
Maybe that's why he didn't go to London.
Sorry?
Golden Eagle prep for that horse.
They're going for Waterford, Silver Eagle, and try and get the rating up high.
Yeah, but Uncle Chris knocked back the invite to go to London.
To get Waterford into the Golden Eagle. Yeah.
Talk about putting your owners first.
Yeah,
full credit to Chris.
Perhaps Mailbag Bloodstock should send a horse or two.
No, we're not allowed. He's got a deal done. Full credit to you, Chris.
Okay. All right. We'll move on. I'll just mention what readybet.com.au has coming up this week. Of course, there's promos on all sports every day of the week. And, of course, all the racing codes. Today we've got specials on racing greyhounds and trots. We've got a bit of a special on tonight's game around Tom Hawkins. So get onto the website, download the app and check us out. And you can find out about all the promos.
Also, ReadyBet RedfernExpress has the Rabbitohs at $1.79 favourites versus Sharkies $2.04. Now talk to me about this.
Well, you're an ex-Shire man, aren't you? What are you saying?
They're gone. That was the most heartbreaking and disgraceful loss. The consequences of that loss are so dire. They had a week off and played in Sydney. Now the Cowboys are up in Queensland in a prelim. I don't know if it was ScoMo or someone was in the crowd and they just shot Valentine Holmes. He just no one was near him.
Yeah, there were no chases there, and normally they're offside and extra time there, and they don't blow the penalty, so you'd be chancing your arm. But anyway, it was good to go and see the Rabbitohs win on Sunday and beat the arch enemies. They're on a bit of a roll at the moment, the Bunnies.
Big roll.
Burgess will be a big loss.
I don't watch a hell of a lot of rugby league, but I caught up with the day by the time that final started, the Souths and Easts, as they used to be called, and that was one of the most entertaining games I've seen in a long time. two sides clearly don't like each other, just trying to basically kill each other from the time the first whistle went. That was,
who's your
good
favourite
stuff.
player, Mark? Latrell or Cam Murray? I just love Cam Murray. Like,
Cam's a man. He's puts his body on the line every week. But that game was a throwback to the 70s and 80s where it was brutal like that every week. And I think people fell in love with that. But now
Gus is blowing up
across the nose and they're sending you off.
Yeah. It'll change this week. Good luck to him.
All right. Now, one of the sponsors of the show, Dicko, of course, is something very close to your heart, Mailbag Bloodstock. Do you want to give us a spruik on what we're trying to punt this week?
I've bought another horse. Which one are we doing? Headwater. I bought a Headwater filly up on the Gold Coast last week. We're sending it to the Hinterland Thoroughbreds to be broken in on the Gold Coast. Beautiful weather up there. They do a great job. Shane and I did a tour of their facility. It's outstanding. Hope to get some good feedback from them as it's broken in, and then pick a trainer. Now, this is a bit flary because it might not. We've got to try and sell the horse to their trainer. So see how we go. And if you do get involved and we do sell the horse, which we will, you will be included in the decision of where we send it. We might send it to Perth, we might send it to Sydney, we might send it anywhere we want. So once you're in, you'll be able to decide. And just on a side note, Sandown, God's Carpet on Wednesday. Craig Williams lives up to all the hype pre-race and post-race. Unbelievable. You couldn't get a word in. He just spoke. He just came out and nailed our horse, nailed the three other horses in the market, nailed the map, told us what he'd do, went out and did it, came back, talked about that. Well, see you guys. Love to ride it again. Bye for now. Everyone's like, oh, we've got Craig again on Sunday at Flemington. So, Dick, if you want to get off the couch and get out of the bunker, we're at headquarters with Keats, who won for his first up. So it's going to be a nice day there Sunday.
I'm not no chance. I've actually been invited by a couple of friends to go. Got a ticket to the members for me, so I'm not 1,000,000 to 1 for a change to be at the races on Sunday. So we'll see how we go. Be great to see you. Now we move on to the great, the key segment of the whole show, the RedfernExpress BLACKBOOKERS. Do you want to take the reins, Dicko?
RedfernExpress BLACKBOOKERS. This segment's everyone's been waiting for. The best free content you'll find anywhere in Sydney races, presented by Mailbag Bloodstock. Mark, where do we start this week?
Yeah, going to Newcastle. There's a horse trained by Rodney Northam who's now won 2 trials. So he's in the blue with yellow sleeves. He's a 3-year-old unraced by Bull Point, and he won a trial at Scone initially, had a little bit of a break, and this was his first trial back after that first trial win. And he sits back off the speed, and I really like the way he closed in over the concluding stage. You can see him coming up on the outside now with the yellow sleeves into about 3rd or 4th spot. But the good thing about this was the last 400, 200 and 600 were on a par with some open class horses that trialled on the day, and that's very rare for unraced maidens. So you just watch here, he gives him a little bit of a niggle up inside the 200, responds straight away, comes over the top of them, and I think it'll be hard to beat wherever he takes him first up. So that's the Bull Point galloper sharp shot taking out that heat at Newcastle.
He's trying to slow him down there the last 100, and he's just still going, isn't he?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, the opposition weren't much chop, but as I said, the sectional times were very strong. So I think he's a nice horse.
Do you reckon he'll turn up at the provincials or the country meeting first up?
Normally he goes to the country, Rodney. We mightn't get on him if he does that, but I'm not sure where he's going to go, mate, to tell you the truth.
Well, black booking, because we've seen some good trials go up some ridiculous odds in the first markets with the tab. I think it was a King Gutho at Queanbeyan the other week, went up some ridiculous price and started evens and walked in. So this one down, they might make a mistake there as well.
Next, we've got a 4-year-old mare, Stray, from the Anthony Cummings stable. Oh.
Yeah, well, she has been thrown into the deep end throughout her career, but she does have a lot of ability. She won a race very impressively on the Kensington track, and then ran a number of group races after that. Also trying to stretch her out in distance, which she didn't really handle. That's her in the bright yellow colours, easing back to second last and now going back to last as another one goes around her. But I want you particularly to watch her over the final, say, 150 metres of this trial. He's trying to give her a smother, and then when he finally gives her a bit of rein and gets to the outside, she explodes to the line. Doesn't run a place, but it was certainly an eye-catching trial. As you can see here, still snookered away near the inside, and it's pretty hard to make ground in these trials with this short straight. still across heels here, finally to the outside, 150 to go, and is about to go bang and pick up about 3 lengths on that leading division. So she looks to be in great shape at the moment, judging by the way she trialled here. And if she isn't in a Group 2 race at the first start back from a spell, I think she's got a good chance in whatever race she runs in, apart from a group race.
I was going to say, do you think you're going to run her on the Cox Plate first up or something like that? That's you said she's running about 7 group races in a row. That's unlike this stable, isn't it? They hate throwing them in the deep end.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you very much for that, Mark. The Black Bookers, as we know, have had a great record since we started this segment, so make sure you take note of them. There's any number of online Black Books or ways you can keep track of them, and you will finish in front if you do.
The best Black Book there ever was, though. The best Black Book of all time. Puntingform.com.au. Beautiful Black Book facility.
Of course. Well, that's the one you'd use. That would be your go-to Black Book, of course, on hunting.
That's what I use.
Now, look, we move on to Randwick on Saturday, which is a great card on paper. The first question I've got to ask, Mark, the man on the spot, how bad was the rain last night, and what do you think the track's going to be like?
Yeah, it was pretty heavy. I'm in the east, not far from Randwick, and it was torrential there at stages. They said that they got about 20 mil, I think. So
wow.
So we're down to a heavy track. The penetrometer would suggest it's definitely about an 8. We've got 2 good days today and tomorrow, though, so we're probably on the improve. Rail goes back into the true position, so I would expect the fence to be off and be a sweeper's day.
I have to agree with you, especially with that rain. Look, it's not going to be any better than, a 7 or a 6 at the absolute best. So with that sting out of the ground, softness in the track, I think the fencing run might be okay early, but especially in the straight, they'll be getting off the fence from race 1, I would think. But as I've said before, I'd prefer that to a hot rail any day of the week. Now, we've got the hunting form data. There's the meeting data that kind of reiterates what we said. The Randwick True is probably the rail position in Sydney racing. It gives the mid to back markers their best chance. It doesn't happen a lot of the time, but it certainly does in this position, especially when the sting is out of the ground. And we've also got the jockey data. You can find all this on huntingform.com.au on the meeting page. Tom Sherry going well last 100, I noticed when I was looking at this data. I don't know if that will hold up now we're entering spring and the big boys are all bringing their A game. Down the bottom there, W. Pike's Randwick stats since he's moved to Sydney are very good. Good strike rate and outperforming the market. So they're just a couple to keep an eye on. But as I said, it is springtime and all the big guns will be out to impress, doing their best. Anyway, we've got a couple of races to preview in a bit of depth as usual, and we start with race 6, the T-Race Stakes for the fillies. And I'll give you the main chances in the market, and it goes something like this. We've got number 1, North Star Lass at 5, 2, Wolverine at 8, 3, Paris Dior at 650, along with number 4, Willingham Beast, also 650. The standout favourite is number 5, Zoo Gotcha at $5, and it's pretty much raffle the rest. It's down to those 5, says the market. And what have you come up with, Mark?
What was that Zoo Gotcha favourite, mate? Sorry, you said
$5. $40.
What price is it? $2.40?
Yeah.
Look, I'm with the favourite here. I know, she was back from 50s into about 14s there to win first up, so different SP profile to some of the horses she's clashing against here, but I thought she was drawn to get a very similar run to what she got the other day. I think she'll be just on the back of the speed. She beat In Secret and North Star Lass, who were both subsequently won. She's won in a heavy 10 at Canterbury to first start in a race, and they called the meeting off later in the day. And then she ran on a heavy 10 at Randwick, which was more like a 12, and he stayed on the inside, and the outside fence was the best place to be. She was cooked when she got to Brisbane. I thought she still won with a bit up the sleeve here, even though she got a charm run in the race. But as I said, I expected to get the very similar run. The one that was an eye-catching run in that race was Wolverine, which was against the pattern, the New Zealand filly, who's now with Chris Lees. She looks like she's going to be suited at 1,400. She was placed at 1,400 in New Zealand. Not an overly impressive type in the yard, but it might be a swooper that can run on. North Star Lass, I think, got all favours the other day on the rail, and Willingham Beast, she hasn't improved physically from her 2-year-old season or 3-year-old season. Maybe she would have won and she found the rail the other day and North Star Lass got that advantage, but obviously they're both very good in the wet. But stepping to 1,400, I like the fact that Zugotcha will just sit off the speed here, can handle the going. Admittedly, it's short enough, but she had a nice trial since, and I think she's the one to beat.
Any one more chance maybe for Paris Dior, who started favourite in that race and probably was unsuited at Randwick?
Yeah, look, I'm just a bit worried about the heavy. I know she's won on the heavy and the Percy Sykes, but she's a very big, gross type of mare or filly, I should say, and perhaps she just got away with it on that day. She did run out of condition the other day, but I would have liked her to stick on a little bit better there first up. And she goes to 1,400 as well. Look, I think she's a very good filly, but I'm just a little bit worried with that downgrade. Maybe she would have had a better chance from the slow. I know I'm contradicting myself somehow. She has one already on a heavy track, but I think she'd be better suited on a dry surface.
Yeah, but when you say 20 mils overnight, I did this last night. Did my work. I thought this thing was a moral last night. Like the wetter the better, isn't it? It's the biggest jockey switch of all time in Sydney at the moment. Pike off, J-Mac on. Maps to make its own luck. It beat In Secret, who everyone's frothing over. I think it's the easiest bet of all time. It should be in everyone's multis all day long. If you're a multi-punter, this is one of your legs.
It does look very hard.
Very, very simple bet. And the wetter the track, because I think Paris Dior is really talented and I'm scared of the spooky Kiwi and Wolverine, but the wet track and like puts itself on the button there. Jeez, simple bet.
But you couldn't find an SP reason to oppose the favourite? Yeah, Willinga Beast was shorter and...
got a nice SP previously.
Fair enough. All right, yeah.
It's Pike off. How many lengths is that?
Yeah, look, she was super impressive there. Yeah, the form is sensational. Yeah, she does look the obvious. I think 240 is about right, to be honest. But
it was 270 last night, I think.
Yeah.
What price does it start? Let's have a bet on that. I'm saying $2.
Yeah, they could back a few to beat her, though. I think a lot would depend on how the track's playing, but she should get the right run regardless.
Yeah, look, it's her from the other four on the market, and forget the rest. So, it just depends which way you want to. Look, as we've said, there are cases you can make for them. The one I want nothing to do with, you touched on, Mark, is North Star Lass, just completely flooded the other day. I don't think she's up to these. If the track's suitable, Wolverine actually had something on her in that race the other day, and I thought her run was really good. And I thought the Percy Sykes was one of the better 2-year-old races in the autumn. So Paris Dior and Willinga Beast have to be given some chance on that score. Very interesting race, but looks like the market does have the right favourite in all our opinion, really. All right, we'll move on to the next race. We're going to go into a bit of depth in it. It's race 9, the Kingston Town Stakes, over 2,000 metres, and the main chances are with Ready Bet, number 1, Knight's Order at 460, 3, Stockman, 10, 7, Allegro 10, number 9, Benno 360, and number 12, Surefire 370. A struck match between the two favourites there. Which way are you going, Mark?
Well, I'm going with Pikey.
Christ.
I might need a Panadol at about 440, but anyway.
We'll get Scurry to pack some extras for you. Maybe a pen.
Look, we all saw that last meeting. The pen, yeah. We all saw that last meeting at Randwick where Knight sort of led on the fence, and that's where you had to be. Well, Benno was 3 wide, Surefire was 3 wide. So let's look at the replay here. Benno is the widest runner, blue with the red V, the grey horse, and Surefire is directly behind it. So you can see that it's Knight's Order from No Compromise and New Marion. They've railed up all the way the first 3, and Benno is the only horse to come from the back and off the rail to make ground in this race. And you can see that he gets away from Surefire, who, as I said in the preview there the other day, I thought he'd win, but I was worried if the track got worse, and the track did get worse, and he was just in the wrong lane. But he's got this heavy surface again, Surefire. I think he's a much better horse. I think he's the best horse in the race, but I think he needs dead to good ground. And I think that the rain has really pushed the race into Benno's favour. He was narrowly beaten in the Derby in the autumn. Just in the wrong part of the track there the other day. This looks going to be more a super's track, and that should suit Pikey's style of riding. So hoping that that's the case, and Benno is the one to beat.
So he wins this and just wins the Metropolitan. He's been ruling favourite for the Metrop for a few weeks now.
Yeah, well, I don't know what's going to run in the Metrop. Look, he hasn't grown much. He's still only a little fella, but he does like the wet, and he is a genuine stayer. So I just think this looks a natural progression from that race the other day, which was weight for age. So he meets Knight's Order a little bit better at the weights, 2.5 kilos. In fact, I think, as I said, Surefire, I've got a big opinion of him, but just worried with that downgrade of the track.
You're surprised, like I do on the form, and I like what Mark's just done there. Like that's what we do. You sort of find stuff to suit our narratives. We've already sort of got to, you know, Pikey on the sweeper. I was going back to the SP profile that I ignored the previous race to justify Surefire. But the rain scares me, and I'm surprised that Waller doesn't just send this horse to Melbourne. It's going to be a better track in Melbourne, most likely. There'll be races on Sunday. I don't get it.
Well, he may scratch him. He's got the outside barrier. He may go to Melbourne next week, depending on the forecast.
This makes no sense because I agree. Like I found it last week, the last start as well, and it just had none the way the race was run. And Benno was a better run, so I wanted to find it, but I found the race really difficult, and I couldn't steer in anything.
I love that point about basically reverse engineering reasons. You find that you just find the horse that you want to back, you know, however you find it, that's the one you want to be on. Then you make up the reasons why. And that's what
you need to have a bit of a gut feel about you to
absolutely.
survive in this.
100% right. You know, but you know, you can't come on a show like this and say, "I just reckon." You know.
Yeah.
So you've got to reverse engineer those reasons. It's a very good point.
Speaking of, I just reckon that Nature Strip's a lay this week because it went to Europe. And I just reckon that I'm going to back Eduardo and Andermatt off the SP profile again. So I'm going back to the SP profile again.
Well, I just reckon Eduardo knocks him off once a prep. And
this is it.
I just reckon Nature Strip is sometime, well, as he gets older, vulnerable first up at 1,000.
Oh, God. Are we all in here, Mark?
Look, normally Nature Strip looks a bit hairy and a bit not there first up, but I've got to say, gallop between races there at Rosehill last week, and he looked fantastic in the coat. So I think he's going to present a little bit differently to what he has first up in the past. Having said that, I think the rain, now that it's come and Eduardo's had the run, might just swing it in his favour. And I think at the price, I would rather be on him than Nature Strip under those circumstances.
It's been about 6 or 8 preps in a row now that CJ Walls had one target in mind for the prep and got him to peak on the day. And it doesn't matter what happens beforehand. I mean, if he doesn't win, he runs second or third anyway. But he doesn't have to win this. I know it's a $1 million race now. $500,000.
580 to the winner. Yeah,
it's a lot of money. But the Everest is a lot more, and that's the day he'll be peaking. I watched just during the week. I watched his win in England again. That was absolutely sensational. And he looked a different class to the European sprinters in the yard too. It's just a magnificent horse and getting better as he gets older. Just fantastic. And look, we can't let this meeting go without bringing up Jack Dickens' favourite horse of all time, certainly of the 21st century, Animo, and as he takes on Zaki on Saturday. Jack.
Well, you know how I price with those sheets that Pistol and I sort of have developed over the years, and they have found Zaki, so I don't know what to say to you.
Oh, no.
It's got the run, likes the wet. I'm very confused and not happy about it. I don't like the rain. I think Animo's the horse to follow, but surely they're just going to back Ice Bath if the track stays how it is, aren't they, Mark?
Well, Ice Bath had the limit weight at Newcastle. They only heavy track, and they elected to scratch and run in the George Main. It's the most confounding thing I've ever seen. Anyway, I prefer Zaki just under the conditions with that rain coming. I look at it, just a price factor, really.
And it's also a gross betting race because there's rain. We don't know how the track's going to race. And both these horses are aimed at Moonee Valley in a month or so. But they don't care as much as your money cares about this performance. And that can really piss you off as a young punter, but that's the reality is these horses are on a prep to peak in a month. Yeah,
the gap between them in the betting does look a bit much given all those mitigating factors. Look, if the rain had missed yesterday and it got somewhere near a 4 or a 5, I was going to give Profondo one last chance. I think he definitely wants a drier surface, but now it's starting on an 8, and look, it will improve, but is it going to improve enough? I just thought he was over the odds at $18, but now I have to wait till tomorrow and see.
I think Animo's like the best horse by a mile. Like it's a Cox Plate winner in my eyes, in my heart, and it's a champion, and it's going to prove itself this preparation, but it's just not the perfect setup on Saturday.
Well, look at the races we've looked at. We've got things in the market. North Star Lass and Knight's Order, who are hard in the market so far tomorrow and were ridiculously flattered on that very biased track. And Zaki was a bit in the same boat. It got complete control on a leader's track. It was a $1 chance after about 100 metres that day. It was flattered as well. So
we're saying reddybet.com.au top odds, Zaki?
I haven't decided yet. We are going to be top odds, a couple of favourites in Melbourne and Sydney tomorrow.
Great promo, that I love it.
Yeah. Got it a bit wrong on Wednesday. I decided Democracy Manifest was the one to take on in the last at Warwick Farm. But anyway, you can't be right all the time. Yeah, I don't know if it'll be Zaki, but we'll release that later today. Anyway, look, it's a shame the rain came because it does look a really good card on paper, and hopefully the track does improve, and hopefully the track plays reasonably fairly. Anyway, that pretty much brings it to a conclusion. Before we go, I'd like to remind everyone to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell on this thing, the Mailbag and Mailbag Bloodstock on all their social channels. Find them, find Ready, do the same with ReadyBet, do the same with Punting Form. They do some good social stuff as well. We've got the Mark Shean RedfernExpress BLACKBOOKERS up on the screen there. Sharp Shock from Newcastle on Monday and Stray from Randwick on Tuesday. And the best bets, of course, were
Who Gotcha and Benno. Now the rain's come. You might have a small speck on Larkspur run each way in the last if it's a sweeper's day.
Love it. And also, don't forget to have something on the Swans into the Rabbits. Let's go.
Swans into the Rabbits. Geelong at the Miners tonight. Larkspur run, I think, was a previous Black Booker too, wasn't it, Mark, from before this prep?
Yeah.
Yep.
I just might have been crying on this show. I'm not sure. But anyway, yeah, no, it did. I did pick her out in the trials, but she ran in a strong race at Wyong the other day. I think she's much better suited coming back to 1,200 metres.
All right. Jack, Mark, thank you very much for your time and insights this morning. That was a lot of fun, and we'll do it all again next week. Until then, bye for now.
Bye for now. Go Swans.